In this video, I'm going to be going over the new changes to the ORKS, where I think they are in the meta right now, and some of the strongest ways and the different detachments you can play them. I hope you enjoy. So where do ORKS sit in the meta now that the more dakka changes have happened, and what are the best ways to build ORK lists? Well, the first thing I kind of want to go over in this video is kind of some of the key strengths to ORKS as a whole, and then we can go into the specific detachments when we go over lists, and some of the key units that I think, well, one translate between all ORK lists, and then we can kind of go into the ones that are specifically good in certain detachments. So with those things in mind, let's have a look at what we're at. So what makes ORKS interesting? And the main proponent is they have the WAR, right? That's the main mechanic that ORKS have access to, and all ORKS have access to it. And it is an incredibly strong ability, getting extra strength, extra attacks, advance in charge, and invul for extra protection. So you're faster, you hit harder, you're more durable. And now with the change, or not now, but like since the recent change to when you call the WAR, it's not the start of the battle round anymore, you can do it in your command phase. This has happened since the start of the year. It actually makes them really adaptable to different situations. You can play a slow trading game with ORKS, or you can try and be really aggressive and push a lot of your army all at once. Because of this, you have so much adaptability in your list and so much maneuverability with the extra speed, using, say, things like trucks and stuff to kind of gain that extra bit of momentum and speed, and all this kind of stuff makes them just, I think, poised really well in the meta. You have some good shooting threats. You have really good trading melee threats. What else? What really more can you ask for? Like, genuinely, I think ORKS are in a really, really good position. The hardest thing about them is you're, even on the WAR turn, you're not incredibly durable, right? Like, most of your stuff are either 5 or 10 man units, and they either have a 4-up save or a 5-up base save, potentially a 5-up invulnerable if it's the WAR. But your opponent doesn't have to do that much damage to kill you. So that's kind of one of the weaknesses, is you are definitely playing a lot more of a trade game, unless you're calling the WAR and trying to overwhelm your opponent, which definitely can work. Both of those ways work really well, and the great thing about ORKS is they have the options to go from one to the other in a blink of an eye if they need to. So what are some of the key units that you're looking for in ORKS in general? So this is kind of, in a way, detachment agnostic. These are just some of the really strong units that you can take. So we have Beast Nigger Boys, we have War Bosses and Beast Bosses, really. Like, they're both very strong, and obviously leading the units that they can lead. Beast Bosses with Beast Nigger Boys are very efficient units into a lot of melee threats. They are very good into vehicles. Also just a bunch of OC to be able to go and dump off on an objective and kind of contest it, flip primary, kill a unit, kind of get that trade war going. But even Beast Nigger Boys on their own without a Beast Boss are still 95 points, really efficient little unit, especially in the WAR. Those extra attacks can really make the difference. And yeah, War Bosses I don't think really need that much attention. They're just very good. 75 points for on the WAR, you get 9 strength 10 plus attacks at AP 2 damage. Just very, very considerable. And then whatever unit he attaches to, he gives them that +1 to hit. And so everyone else is hitting harder, and they usually hit pretty hard themselves anyway. One of the best units I think to attach a War Boss to is 2 Knobs with Power Claws. Knobs with Power Claws hit incredibly hard, and a few of the detachments they can get access to sustained hits, which amplifies their damage even more. Really, really good piece to go out and kill mostly any one thing in the game. There's obviously some units that are a bit too durable for one unit of Knobs to kill, so say like Custodian Wardens, stuff like that. They won't get through those, but like for 180 points with the combo with a War Boss and a unit of Knobs, they do so much work. And I think they're really good to have 1 or 2 of these in your list, just because they're a great problem solving unit. Amazing on the WAR, but even off the WAR they are still quite good at just doing that trading game, flipping a point, and they're kind of annoying to kill, especially on the WAR. The -1 to wound, if your strength is greater than them, just kind of keeps an extra guy alive sometimes. It can be really strong. Then we have our trusty Gretchen or Grots, just being able to hold your home field, gain you potentially extra CP are both huge things that orcs need access to, but also running 2 or 3 units of these guys can be really strong. And when I played at Warp Wars a month or 2 ago, I ran 3 units on my tactical list, and they were just godsends. You leave 1 unit in reserve, you can put them into trucks, you can send them off to go flip primary, to just lock down your expansion objective. There's so much you can do with them, and they're so cheap. 40 points for what you get is just absurd. Just bodies can be really helpful. You can use them to move block, you can use them to charge part of a unit, so then when you charge with your actual melee threat, you don't have to worry about the counter-offensive strat used on you, because they're only going to be swinging with 2 guys and the rest have to kill grots or even fights first. There's great uses for them that they can make them points back in so many different ways. Then we have probably the thing that you'll see the most of in all these lists, which is trucks. I think trucks are absolutely astounding at the moment. 65 points for just a vehicle that can have things inside them, keeps your unit safe so you're not just dying out in the open. It forces 2 activations to kill, because you have to kill the truck and the unit inside. All this kind of stuff is really, really important, because you need to keep the momentum going. And they're also just great action pieces. Once they've unloaded all the contents, you can just use them to go do those actions for you. You can go hold your expansion objective, hold your home field objective if you want to send the grots out on to go do something else. There's so much you can do with them, and they're fast. They don't really do anything else, but what they do is really important for how orcs want to function. And then the last is the new kill team unit. So this is the breaker boys and the tank busters. Specifically, the tank busters are really strong, and you'll see a note throughout all the lists that are coming up that there is busters in all of them. I think they solve a really important problem for orcs, which is, again, killing those transports. Orcs really don't want to have to charge 2 units into a transport. One of them kills the transport, the other one can kill the guys inside. That's doable, but if you can pop the transports a bit earlier and then just be able to charge the insides, that's a lot more efficient of your time as well, because sometimes you don't want to send too much out towards your opponent, so it's a good way of being able to balance that. And it also means that a lot of the time people could deploy in the line against orcs, or in the open against orcs, because they didn't have any shooting. With a couple of units of tank busters, it really puts that back and it forces them back a little bit, so you're playing a bit more of an honest game of 40k. So I think they're really important. Breakers are also a really good data sheet, just because strength 6, AP 2, 3 damage is a really good profile. There's a lot of 3-wound models. I say this in all my videos. There's so much 3-wound bodies at the moment that it's just really good. Any extra time that you can get more 3 damage in your army. So those are kind of all the key units. I'm going to flip over to my other overlay now, and we'll be back in a second. So now we're back, and we're going to be going through the lists. So the first one is going to be our more dakka list, aptly named slightly less dakka. So what changes happened to more dakka? They flipped their detachment ability, so instead of having sustained hits always and assault on the wire, you have assault always and sustained hits 1 on the wire. So they really toned down the damage and only turned it to 1 round of the game. So really, really big difference there. So really tones it down. So I think you definitely don't go all guns anymore. I think you definitely go for more mixed arms, which is what orcs want to do. Orcs play the mixed arms game really well now with the access to tank busters. And they also increased and changed some of the stratagems. So to go into the wire stratagem is now 2 CP and can't be used on Gretchen, so the Zodrog combo is kind of gone. I think 2 CP for that stratagem is actually fine. It's such a powerful stratagem. There's no 1 CP rate in the game that gives you +1 strength, +1 attack, a 5-up invul, advance and charge, and access to any abilities that you gain while in the wire. It was an absurd rate at 1 CP. And I still think it's actually quite good at 2 CP. You just need to kind of have your game plan around it. And then the reroll wounds and melee stratagem is now reroll 1s if you're off an objective, or reroll wounds if your opponent's on an objective. So not as impactful, but still really, really strong. And the idea is that we kind of utilize all parts of the detachment, so we can go heavy into the shooting stratagems if we really need to play that kind of game, or we can play heavy into the melee side. So let's get into the list. We have 2 beast bosses. We have 3 shock attack guns. One of them has dead shiny shooters for the rapid fire. I think this is just really good to push through more damage. It is expensive, but I think it is still worth it. And then we have targeting squigs, so this one has +1 to hit. This one's definitely better against non-vehicles, so you kind of have one that's kind of just a bit more, it kind of gains an extra +1 to hit because it has more shots. This one gets +1 to hit from the extra ability, and then there's one big mech that just doesn't have any upgrades. I don't think the other upgrades are really necessarily worth it. Those are the 2 best ones. The fallback is interesting, but just again, you have to find points for them. Then we have a Pain Boy and 2 war bosses with power claws, and that ends out our characters. The reason we have a Pain Boy is we have a unit of 20 boys. Now I think this is a great unit to be able to use the strat to put a unit into the war, because 20 boys with a Pain Boss and a war boss, you get the WAR benefit for the war boss, so he becomes a lot more killy. You have a 5-up Feel No Pain, so you have a 5-up invulnerable save and a 5-up Feel No Pain. You can res guys back once a game from the Pain Boy. You kind of get a lot of like good utility out of it, and it's on a decent unit that can hit pretty hard. They really like having +1 strength and +1 attack, so that they kind of utilize all parts of the WAR stratagem really, really well. So it's kind of like a use for that. Also having access to sticky objectives is just really good. So you can sticky your home, you can maybe sticky this one of the side objectives and then send them out to pressure your opponent. Or you can use them, you can use them to pressure early and send them forward to force your opponent's action, and then you have your guns and the rest of your army to go back. I did skip over the 2 units of Snagger Boys. They go after 2 beast bosses. I think that was pretty obvious that was going to happen. Really good in this attachment. Again, the reroll wounds on objective stratagem is really nice. Getting that on the charge. The beast bosses getting reroll wounds with anti-monster vehicle 4+ and dev wounds means you can push through on a crazy amount of damage and kill pretty much any vehicle that sits on a point. So you can really kind of pressure your opponents from putting vehicles on objectives, which is really, really nice. Also just really good pieces in general. I really, really, really rate Beast Snagger Boys. So then we have 4 trucks here. And again, just because trucks are really good, I don't think any of these lists run like less than 2 or 3 trucks. Like that is an important piece. They're so cheap. They just give you access to so much, like I said earlier. Then we have 2 units of Gretchen, again, because we're going to be wanting to use that WAR stratagem a couple of times. We really want multiple attempts at getting that extra CP. So quite often I would actually start one of the Gretchen and one of the transports so then the Gretchen can run off on my turn 1 and get onto my side objective. Because if they can get onto my expansion objective, then I have 2 rolls to get that 1 extra CP. You can only get 1 CP, but then you have 2 attempts at a 4-up to get a CP. So it kind of helps in some ways to like make sure you're banking those CP early, so you can use that extra WAR ability or the other stratagems, which are still all very good. And more dakka, slightly less dakka. We have a unit of knobs, again, very, very efficient unit. They also really like the reroll wound stratagem. Even just reroll 1s to wound can be very good for them. So often if you're strength 10 on the WAR, you're just getting, okay, like I need to make sure this unit dies. They're wounding on 2s, let's reroll the 1s to just try and push through that extra bit of damage. Can be really nice. 2 units of Storm Boys, great action monkeys. Storm Boys always being able to advance and charge, just really nice. And just they're the unit that gets the game started for you. They're the one that does the cleanse for you. They're the one that, sets up the move blocks, all that kind of stuff. So they're really, really important to the list, is having these kind of fast, cheap units to go off and do those actions early, because they're going to die, and then you can use your trucks and stuff later on to do those secondaries. Really, really nice units. And then we just have 3 tank buster units. These ones have, the sergeant has double rocket pistol. It's really, I think more dakka is definitely the one you 100% want, the double pistols, because you want to be able to push through as much damage as possible. All the other detachments, it's really up to preference whether you would want the smash hammer and 1 pistol, because then you get a bit of extra damage 3 in melee, so if they get tagged, they can actually get out of smaller units, or if you want the 2 pistols. Both are fine. I think it's 2 of one, 1 of another kind of thing. But that's the list. So 3 units of tank busters. So this list is designed to play a lot more passively than Mordecai did in the past, where it could kind of just aggressively go out, explode and kill things. This list has to be a bit more cagey and kind of control parts of the board, and then kind of has that explosive war turn where they can go out, kill a bunch of stuff with their tank busters, put the unit of 20 boys and kind of tag a bunch of stuff, and then you can kind of churn them through the war with the strat afterwards, try and keep them alive, try and just drop your opponent's primary. So this isn't as big of a differential army now. It's definitely trying to win by 10, 15 points, trying to just like flip a couple of primaries, lock down its own primaries, and kind of just play that kind of game. But yeah, I don't think it's in a bad place. I don't think it's the strongest thing that orcs have access to now, but I don't think it's also the worst thing in the world. The stratagems are still very strong. Getting ignores cover on shooting and getting +1 AP on shooting are both incredibly powerful abilities, so don't miss those out. You can definitely add looters into this. You could swap out beast bosses and some of the melee aspects and just add in units of looters. Looters are still fine. They're nowhere near as impactful without sustained hits, so not as good, but the stratagems are still really good. Getting ignores cover or +1 AP or both can really help push up that damage, but they're not doing that much damage now. So I don't think that they're worth it. Maybe a couple of 5-mans just for the war turn to go off and help clear those screens, kill those things on objectives, kill those like do some extra damage to transports. I think there's still a place for them, so you don't have to completely ignore them. But I don't think they're an auto take 30 of in any list anymore. So that's the first list. Now we are going on to our tactical brigade list. And this has just the one beast boss. It has the big mech and mega armor with a custom force field. And mech captain, so he'll be leading 10 flash gits in this list. Really, really good combo there. You get the reroll hits on the flash gits. So it's still really strong. It's a bunch of strength 6, AP1, damage 2 shooting. With sustained hits, so they love all that. They obviously with sustained hits, getting reroll to hit is just a phenomenal ability. You can push through a lot of damage. Great for clearing screens. They also love being in a truck because you can just shoot everyone out of the truck. Yes, you don't get the rerolls, but you can kind of do that as like a safety net. Kill a unit of scouts or something like that, kill something easy, and then the next turn come out and actually have your real go turn where you can go out, shoot, and then charge something, because flash gets also quite good in melee, especially on the war. So that's a really good combo there, and I really, really like what that unit does. Then we have 3 shock attack guns. One of them has Mork's Cunning for the redeploy, just so you, like, there's a couple of spare points in this list, and I think it's the best secondary enhancement you can take. Whereas it's just like, cool, like, you can kind of deploy a bit more aggressively or a bit looser, and then just swap a couple of units out, put something into reserve. If you have that extra unit of Storm Boys or something, you can just put them back into reserve, and then you have that unit to deep strike down. Stuff like that can just be really nice. Then we have 2 war bosses with power claws to finish off the characters here. You definitely need like an amount of characters in this list, because to get the orders and all this kind of stuff, you need to be able to have the units to do those. The hit to tactical itself is a bit of a bummer. The going from 2 orders down to 1, and then you always have to do a leadership check, does hurt a little bit, but like being able to still put stealth on everything, being able to get +1 to hit when you need it, getting reroll charges when you want it, getting extra strength, all these things are really important. And I think most of the time it was you got what you needed and another thing. So now you just get what you need. So it's definitely a bit more fine-tuned and a bit more nice edge in that way. But I still think there's quite a strong way to play here. Then we have the unit of Beast Anger Boys to go with the Beast Boss. We have a unit of boys. I think Sticky is really important. Just having access to that, just so you can play a bit more aggressively if you need to. You can sticky your home. The next turn they run off, start going towards the center or onto one of your expansion objectives. Also just a nice piece of OC. They can start on the board, sticky your home, go into a truck, and then next turn get pushed out and go somewhere else. Really just good. Like 80 points for a sticky is just the going rate, right? And then 1 unit of Storm Boys. Then we have the 4 trucks. There's 4, right? Yeah, 4 trucks. Don't need to say any more there. The flash gits that I alluded to. 3 units of Gretchen here. Again, I just really, really rate Gretchen in this list. They can hold your home. They can flip primary. They're good for doing secondaries. They're really great late game as well. Just being able to rapid ingress on turn 3 and then send them off to do a little job in your opponent's backfield can be very fun. But very good here. Then we have 2 units of knobs to go with the 2 war bosses. These are just kind of 2 nice trading packages. in the very niche situations, you might want to put one of the war bosses with the boys instead of the knobs. So you're going up against a lot of just one wound models. The boys are actually more efficient there than the knobs are, so giving the boys +1 to hit actually amplifies their damage more than it amplifies the knobs in that scenario. So don't just discredit that, like, oh, they have to go there because they get the best buffs. There might be situations where the war bosses are actually better with the boys. So then we have 3 units of tank busters with the smash hammers in this one. I prefer the smash hammers in tactical. I like having the ability to hit something, and then because you can fall back and shoot in this detachment, like, it's nice to be able to actually hit something with a bit harder than just a chopper. You still have access to the chopper if you need it, so it's kind of a nice balance there, but you do lose out on a rocket shot within 12 inches. So, take that with as you will. Either way, I don't think is wrong. I just think I prefer it in this detachment. So what is this detachment trying to do? This one is trying to control the game. It can play a lot more aggressively, especially into shooting armies. It still has very good shooting with the Big Macs and the boys. This one's definitely better into just non-vehicles as well, because the Big Macs can give +1 to hit to their tank busters, so they're hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, so they're a lot more consistent than tank busters and other detachments where they're hitting on 5s. So, like, it kind of, whereas more dakka has one turn where they're more efficient, apart from that, obviously you have to get the enhancement for +1 to hit that one unit. This kind of balances that over all the turns, which is kind of nice. And you also still have, access to good offensive stratagems. You can, if you need like an extra strength, you have an order for that. If you need to be more consistent, you can reroll charges. There's a lot of stuff you can do here. I do think I've gone away from breakers in this detachment, purely for the fact that I think you don't need that much damage 3. Like, you have the 3 units of shock attack guns, and having that extra unit of, say, like snagger boys or those boys and like all these other little pieces, I think is more important than having more damage 3. My first list was the triple busters and the triple breakers, but I think the knobs actually fill the same role quite well, and it gives you kind of more profiles to, like, oh, I need, these are 2 wound models, cool, or 4 wound models, I can put the knobs into them. Oh, cool, here's 3 wound stuff, I'm going to put the tank busters into them. So it kind of gives you a bit more balance there, which I really do like in the list. So yeah, so it's trying to control the game. It's not trying to overwhelm a whole lot. It's still with the amount of trucks that it has. It can still have a bunch of stuff in it. Set up really aggressively one turn, and then war the next turn. So like you can do like a really good turn 3 war, I found, with tactical, because you kind of come out, you flip your opponent's primary, you aggressively hit their staging units, and kind of just deal with that, and then kind of just play 40k after that point. It's kind of how I feel how they play. I do really rate tactical, but I still also don't think it is the strongest way to play orcs. So on to another way that I think orcs can actually be very interesting, and this is the big hunt detachment. This one might be a bit controversial. People probably would assume bully boys would be here, and it was 50-50 whether I was going to put bully boys or the hunt here. And I think you could really say, like, they're both interesting. Bully Boys plays a lot more aggressively in all-ins because it's the 2 turns to kind of overwhelm with the war, and the war is so powerful. So that is also an interesting way to play. But I really like what the hunt actually offers now, and especially in the meta where there's so many vehicles, so many character-led units. It feels like there's more character-led units than non-character-led units. So like you kind of get like your like the orky version of Oath in this detachment. Well, obviously it's not the same. The hunt, you get you pick a prey at the start of your turn, and your prey all snagger units in your army get +1 AP and reroll charges against your prey target, which is pretty decent. It actually is surprisingly good, and a couple of the stratagems get better if they're used on your prey target as well. But we'll get into those in a minute. So what we have here is, this is going to be heavily snagger focused with 3 beast bosses. One of them has Proper Killy. Proper Killy just gives +1 damage, so he's just damage 3 with his attacks. Really great, like just 15 points for just flat more damage is amazing. And then 2 other beast bosses. One war boss with Claw, Then we have 6 units of Beast Snagger Boys, so just 60, all 10 mans. So 60 Beast Snagger Boys. Then we have 5 trucks here. This might seem like a ludicrous amount of trucks, but again, I think they are one of the greatest units that orcs have access to, which is such a silly thing to say because it's just a silly little transport. But because they're cheap and they're efficient at what they do, and they help you play the game that you want to play, which is keep your units alive so they can always activate at full strength. Really, really important. Then we have a unit of Gretchen, again, for your home field, just, you want some extra CP. We have 1 kill rig. There is a stratagem that Dahan has access to, which is just advance or fall back and charge, which is really nice. Like, having a kill rig that can just advance and charge off the war is really good. All those Beast Snagger Boys, I love having that as well. It's also at the perfect time, which is in the charge phase, so you can roll your advance. Okay, that wasn't very good. I'm actually just going to stage up somewhere, and then you don't have to have spent the CP. So really good timing for the stratagem as well. The Kirig also really likes the +1 AP when attacking its prey target, because all of its melee weapons are AP1, so bumping those all up to AP2 is actually a significant damage upgrade than otherwise you might think. Also, getting like D3 las cannons is like kind of good, and they auto hit, so like it's kind of nice having like the little bit extra range output that they have, and then just all the melee that it has to offer. And also another transport. So this list has 6 transports total, because it has the kill rig that can transport 10 beast snaggers, and then the 5 trucks. Absolutely insane amount of transportation. Then we have a unit of knobs with power claws that goes with the war boss. Again, it's a good package. Doesn't get any buffs in this detachment, but sometimes you just do need a little bit of extra damage too to kill a unit. So it's kind of like a surgical piece. It's kind of like a bit of a scalpel to go, here's a problem, I'm going to send this to go deal with that problem. So quite a cool little unit there. We have a unit of Storm Boys, again, just to screen out your backfield, go and do secondaries, whatever they really need to do. Really, really, like, I don't think any list has 0 Storm Boys in it. I think Storm Boys are just good enough that you want to take at least 1 unit of. You could also, if you're finding 5 trucks is too many for you, you can swap out 1 truck for a second unit of Storm Boys, and I think they'll stay functions actually really well there as well. Then we have 3 units of Tank Busters. These guys don't get led by anything, but I think they just add a great dynamic to the list, which is your opponent still can't just deploy out in the open, right? They have to respect the Tank Busters, because if they put any vehicles out or transports out, they can just get killed pretty quickly by Tank Busters, which is really, really nice. They also, if they're not shooting at monsters or vehicles, you can leave them inside the transport and just shoot from inside the truck, and they can do the exact same damage that they would if they're out. So they kind of just like pump up the damage of your trucks a little bit as well, and make your trucks a bit more of a gun platform as well. So really cool, like, different ways you can use them. I've kept the 2 rocket pistols here just because, like, again, I think the extra bit of shooting might just be better here. But again, it's very 50-50 on what's better there. But they just add that extra dynamic. It's like, cool, if your opponent's pushing forward with a couple of transports, well, now they have to stay like a little bit further back, because I have a 12-inch move, you can disembark 3 and then shoot at your transport. Will a Tank Buster unit kill a transport on average? It's kind of 50-50. But the fact that they have the chance to means your opponents have to play differently, which is just great. And that's this list. So this list is, again, it can play the trading game like absolute crazy with all the units of Beast Snagger Boys. It can go out for primaries, but it can also play that great overwhelming game. Like, I think most of the time I would put the Killer Rig in reserve and rapid ingress it, just so you can, like, whatever side of the battlefield is more important to bolster, you can do that. But also, like, a truck with the War Bosses unit and a unit of Tank Busters, or even just a unit of Tank Busters in reserve, so you can bring them in from a board edge and get some different angles and start shooting there. Like, I think the list plays in a really cool way. The Beast Boss with proper killing also really helps solve the Beast Snagger's problem of not being able to deal with 3-wound models. So that, with the Tank Busters, kind of solves one of the issues that the list has. And the list is also very good into vehicles, because you have the Tank Busters, but also all the Beast Snagger units are inherently good against vehicles. So it's like, it's quite a cool list that you're good against the vehicle stuff. You also get your prey you're like, you have the buff against. You have access to advance and charges the stratagem, which is amazing. You have uppy downy at the end of your opponent's fight phase. You can lift a unit of beast snaggers up so you can reposition stuff. It's really important late game to be able to do that because you might not have many resources, but like, hey, that beast snagger unit that's just sitting out on the side there, I'm going to lift it up just in case I get like behind enemy lines, and so I can go back and do that. Really, really important there. And that's about it. I think genuinely, if you like the beast snagger range, you should look at this detachment again and like read through the abilities. I don't think Squig Hog Riders make the cut purely because they're just too expensive for what they do, and mounted is such a negative keyword at the moment. It's just so easy to play against them, and they actually don't do that much damage. They are better, like there's a lot of AP1 attack, so when they're attacking their prey target, they do get a buff, but there's only so many things that you want to put in your list that need that prey target, because it's only, you select one unit each time, right? Like it's not, you don't get to pick a new one once you kill the first one. You have to wait until your next turn to pick a new prey target. So that's why I think having it so you can send out a unit of beast snagger boys or a kill rig, or maybe even both, to go attack your prey is good. But if you had 3 units of Squig Hog boys, then you're taking what, 40 less beast snagger boys. You're not taking the kill rig, which I actually think is quite interesting, and all these kind of different things. So definitely look into it. It's a cool detachment, and I'm definitely going to be playing it some more going forward. I think it's really got some legs. And then lastly, we have Warhorde. And this is a Warhorde list with Ghazghkull Thraka. There is many different ways you can build Warhorde. I think Warhorde is 100% the strongest way to play Orcs, but I also think none of the detachments that I've talked about previously are weak either. I think this is probably the strongest because it has the best slew of stratagems, has some good enhancements, and sustained hits army-wide is just such a good, like, it's effectively +1 to hit always, is such a good ability to have. So let's get into the list. 2 beast bosses, cool. One of them has Head Whopper's Kill Dropper, so it always has the dev wounds are always on, which is just really nice. So the anti-monster vehicle 4+ is just always doing devs. It's quite good. Ghazghkull Thraka, very good. 3 war bosses and Zodrog. It's a pretty interesting list here. I think Zodrog is really good in a list that you're playing more melee assets, purely for the fact that you can use them to kind of block half of, like, part of the board, where you kind of war and attack the other part of the board. So if you kind of put it into like districts, like you block one district off from being able to attack, yes, they'll kill the Gretchen and Zodrog, that's fine, but if you can keep a lot of your stuff alive throughout that kind of go turn, so then after your war turn you can still then capitalize with a lot of units, that can be really, really beneficial. And then we have, so the 2 beast snagger units to go with the boss. We have a unit of boys, sticky, great, can also go with one of the war bosses if need be. We have 3 trucks in this list, so a bit leaner on the truck front here. And again, all these things are changeable. Like between all of these different lists, you can swap out, like you could put the 20-man boys unit in here and it will work quite well. You can put different parts from different lists, like the different like kind of combos. Obviously you can't change the enhancements, but like you could put shock attack gun mechs in here and they'll still be quite good. So like all these different things you can try and do. No one of these lists is necessarily perfect. These are just like really good concepts of how to build the different lists that Orcs have. Then we have a unit of breakers for the nice 3 damage melee. They like a war boss, but they also don't need a war boss because they have sustained hits and can also get critical 5s, so they can work independently if you don't need the war boss for the extra punch, but they can also just, they're also better with a war boss as well. A unit of flash gets, just nice to be able to clear that chaff. Flash gets also a really good pocket pick if you want a bit more shooting and chaff clearing in your lists. Sub out 80 points in any list and put in a unit of flash gets and you won't be upset with them. They have a decent amount of melee, it's all AP1 attacks, but they also have a decent amount of just shooting just to help clear those units, clear those screens, so like when you have your go turn you can hit a bit harder. Really good, really, really good. Then we have a unit of 20 Gretchen to go with Zodrog and a unit of 10 Gretchen. 2 Mega Knobs to go with Gazgal, so he has the 5-up Feel No Pain and the War turn, which is really, really nice. The Mega Knobs themselves don't do a whole heck of a lot, but like how much they amplify Gaz's durability is really nice, and also just 6 extra wounds for Gaz to have, which is also quite good. Then we have 3 units of 5 knobs here. Again, really good trade pieces. Don't necessarily need war bosses, but also really like war bosses, because hitting on 3s is a lot better than hitting on 4s, but because you have sustained hits, you have access to the critical 5 stratagem. They don't necessarily need it, but like these are probably where your war bosses are going to go, and I think that's like quite a strong place to be. And then you have the Storm Boys to finish off this list. So this one isn't using the tank busters. Now, are tank busters probably the correct way to go? Most likely. I think like there's probably a stronger list here, or a different kind of list concept that doesn't take Gazgal, takes the 3 units of tank busters and kind of plays that kind of game. Probably like 1 to 2 units of breaker boys, 3 units of tank busters, none of them are lead, and then you have a couple of war bosses with knobs units. You kind of play that game, maybe 1 unit of beast snaggers with beast boss, and that's probably a different way you can build the list, which is also very, very strong, and that plays a lot more like the tactical and the more dakka lists. So there's different ways to like build them, and I don't think any of them are wrong. This one's more in on the melee aspect and like really making use of the fight on death stratagem and like interrupts and stuff like that, whereas other ones can kind of use things differently. But yeah, I also just wanted to have one list with Gaz in it, because Gaz I think is genuinely quite good, especially in War Horde. Also very good in Bully Boys, because you get the double War, so with his Mega Knobs he can actually really punch up quite a bit, and you get that extra buff for another turn. So stuff like that can be really, really strong. War Horde has, I think, it has the best melee output, it has the best slew of enhancements, and it has the best slew of stratagems with like Careen for your vehicles is very fun. It can absolutely break games open. You have the -1 to wound stratagem, which just can, like, if they don't put enough into one of your units, you can -1 to wound it. Also very funny on the 20 strong boys unit. So if you're taking the pain boss, that kind of combo, the pain boy with 20 boys, you can -1 to wound it for a CP, and then they become an absolute chore to deal with. So like, again, like pull things from these different lists until you have the list that works for you and the kind of combos that you want to play. So that can be quite strong. And yeah, so like really good like slew of abilities here. I really hope that that you got something out of this, and if you were a bit like in the dumps that more dakka was nerfed too much potentially, I think everyone knew that it needed to be nerfed at least a little bit. They maybe hit them a little bit too hard, but I think that's fine. But like, there's a few different ways to play orcs here. They all play slightly differently, and they all have very interesting takes and different things you can kind of lean into. And I also think like Dread Mob, Bully Boys, these detachments can also do quite interesting things. They're a bit more skew, and I haven't played with them, so I didn't want to have them in this list, because I wanted to explain with stuff that I've actually played with and kind of understand a bit more. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm at with orcs. These are the kind of style lists. There's definitely some mix between them. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, there's a few things you can do. The first thing is you can like the video. You can subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I've got a Discord that I think the link should be in the video description, so you can check out there. I'm trying to build like a little community. I'm going to be posting lists that I'm going to be playing with and stuff like that. So if you want to come and talk about lists, talk about 40k at all, you can jump in there and start doing stuff like that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.